Good morning, everyone. Hello. Welcome, Roomers and Zoomers, to Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Catherine Osborne, and I'm your worship associate today. I'm joined by Reverend Sian Wiltshire, our lovely minister, and Beth Syerson, our director of music ministries, is currently out today on a much-needed vacation. We love you, Beth. But our wonderful music leaders today are Jolyn and Joelle Ibanez. Sorry, I get nerves. Karen Magoon-Pearson, our Director of Religious Education, is currently holding classes for our children and youth at Estancia Park. We would also like to thank all of the wonderful volunteers behind the scenes who make today's service possible. It takes a lot of work and time and rehearsals and fiddling with things and trying to make audio sound good. We also respectfully recognize that our church property rests on Achaman and Tongva land. As Unitarian Universalists, we have many different beliefs, but we are one loving community. Together, we covenant that whatever our beliefs, we accept one another and encourage each other in spiritual growth. We affirm that all life has inherent value and that all existence is interconnected. We strive for justice and compassion in our deeds and relationships, and we are committed to creating a welcoming community without regard to the traits that sometimes divide people. To our wonderful roomers, we invite you to silence your cell phones at this moment. Thank you very much. For our Zoomers, we invite you to say hello in the chat today of how the weather is, how the coffee is. Say hi. Because of our current circumstances, when songs appear on the screen, roomers are invited to sway with the music. I know it's really hard and it's very much tempting to sing along, but unfortunately, we cannot. So we will let you know when we're able to sing again in person, but as of right now, we can't. All Zoomers, of course, they can sing along. They can sing their hearts out. I'd like to extend a special welcome to visitors as well. If you're seeking a spiritual home, we really hope that you find it here, even if it's just for today. Later in the service, we will have an opportunity for you to introduce yourself if you'd like to do so. So look forward to that. Let our worship begin with the lighting of our chalice as we say our unison affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love with one another. This we affirm together. Thank you. Please sing or sway to our opening song.
Don't leave your broken heart at the door. Bring it to the altar of life. Don't leave your anger behind. It has high standards, and the world needs vision. Bring them with you, and your joy and your passion. Bring your loving and your courage and your conviction. Bring your need for healing and your power to heal. Here is work to do, and you have all that you need to do it right here in this room and on Zoom.
This is the moment, this is the day when I send all my doubts and demons on their way. Every endeavor I have made ever is coming into play. It's here and now, today. This is this moment, this is the time when the momentum and the moment are in rhyme. Give me this moment, this precious moment. I'll gather up my past and make some sense at last. This is the moment when all I've done, all of the dreaming, scheming, and screaming become one. This is the day. See it sparkle and shine when all I've lived for becomes mine. Now the time has come to prove to them I've made it on my own. This is the moment, my final test. Destiny beckoned, I've never reckoned second best. I won't look down, I must not fall. This is the moment, the sweetest moment of them all. This is the moment, damn all the odds. This is day or never, I sit forever with the gods. When I look back, I will always moment for moment. This was the moment, the greatest moment of them
I'm so glad I'm not following that right away. So our reading today is an actually wonderful, also inspiring words from Valerie Carr, who is this amazing Sikh activist, writer, and mother. So let us listen.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. On Christmas Eve, 103 years ago, my grandfather waited in a dark and dank cell. He sailed by steamship across the Pacific Ocean from India to America, leaving behind colonial rule. But when he landed on American shores, immigration officials saw his dark skin, his tall turban worn as part of his Sikh faith, and saw him not as a brother but as foreign, as suspect, threw him behind bars where he languished for months. Until a single man, a white man, a lawyer named Henry Marshall, filed a writ of habeas corpus that released him Christmas Eve, 1913. My grandfather Kehar Singh became a farmer, free to practice the heart of his Sikh faith, love and oneness. And so when his Japanese American neighbors were rounded up and taken to their own detention camps in the deserts of America, he went out to see them when no one else would. He looked after their farms until they returned home. He refused to stand down.
That's right.
In the aftermath of September 11, when hate violence exploded in these United States and a man that I called Uncle was murdered, I tried to stand up. I became a lawyer like the man who freed my grandfather, and I joined a generation of activists fighting detentions and deportation, surveillance and special registration, hate crimes and racial profiling. And after 15 years, with every film, with every lawsuit, with every campaign, I thought we were making the nation safer for the next generation.
Mama.
And then my son was born. On Christmas Eve, I watched him ceremoniously put the milk and cookies by the fire for Santa Claus. And after he went to sleep, I then drank the milk and ate the cookies. I wanted him to wake up and see them gone in the morning. I wanted him to believe in a world that was magical. But I am leaving my son a world that is more dangerous than the one that I was given. Because we are raising a brown boy in America. A brown boy who may someday wear a turban as part of his faith. And in America today, as we enter an era of enormous rage, as white nationalists hail this moment as their great awakening, as hate acts against Sikhs and our Muslim brothers and sisters are at an all-time high, I know that there will be moments, whether on the streets or in the schoolyard, where my son will be seen as foreign, as suspect, as a terrorist. Just as black bodies are still seen as criminal. Brown bodies are still seen as illegal. Trans bodies are still seen as immoral. Indigenous bodies are still seen as savage. The bodies of women and girls seen as someone else's property. And when we see these bodies not as brothers and sisters, then it becomes easier to bully them, to rape them, to allow policies that neglect them, that incarcerate them, that kill them. Yes, Rabbi. The future is dark. On this New Year's Eve, this watch night, I close my eyes and I see the darkness of my grandfather's cell. And I can feel the spirit of ever-rising optimism in the Sikh tradition, Chardi Kala, within him. And so the mother in me asks, what if? What if this darkness is not the darkness of the tomb, but the darkness of the womb? What if our America... What if our America is not dead, but a country that is waiting to be born? What if the story of America is one long labor? What if all of our grandfathers or grandmothers are standing behind us now, those who survived occupation and genocide, slavery and Jim Crow, detentions and political assault? What if they're whispering in our ear today, tonight, you are brave? What if this is our nation's great transition? What does the midwife tell us to do? Breathe. And then, because if we don't push, we
Pretty amazing speaker, huh? Yeah, she's amazing. Oh, love her. All right, so this morning for our meditation, I just invite you to just take some deep breaths. Soften your eyes if you like. Our meditations are not long. They're just a moment to think about what you just heard, to consider her words. I love that she reframes our difficult times we live in as the darkness of the womb, not the darkness of the tomb. And what do you think of that reframing? And what might be born if we breathe and then push? You're invited to join Jolynn in singing or swaying. So if you were here last week, you know that I spoke about transcendentalism, which is sort of a spiritual branch of Unitarianism, which is one of our theological ancestors. For those of you who might be new to Unitarian Universalism, there are these two branches of our faith. There was Universalism and Unitarianism, and they joined together in 1961, these two denominations, to form the oh-so-creative name of Unitarian Universalism. So last week, as I said, it was the founding of the Transcendentalist Club, so I thought it would be a fun time to talk about that branch. And it turns out that this week, on September 30th, it's kind of around this time period, we celebrate what is known as Universalism Day, which I honestly have never celebrated before, but I thought it was kind of cool. It's the anniversary of the first time that Universalism was preached here in the United States by John Murray. Now, I'll explain what Universalism is in a moment, but it turns out that there is actually a tradition that what you do on Universalism Day that our ancestors used to celebrate. And the idea is it's sort of a little bit like Thanksgiving. I don't know, but like we stand around and we hold hands and give one thing that we're grateful for, right? Well, on Universalism Day, what you do is you think of one positive thing that's going on in your life, in your church, and in your nation. So I was thinking about this, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, my life, I had a really great thing happen this week. I fostered dogs, and I found the perfect family for this dog. They fell in love with each other. It was awesome. It was just made my day. It was just wonderful. So there's something good going on in my life. In the church here, there's so many wonderful things going on. I can't wait to tell you in a couple of weeks, we're going to talk to you about affiliated ministers. We're getting 2 affiliated ministers. I'm really excited about this. We're also, building a new sanctuary. Yay! I'm really all excited. All sorts of really fun things going on at the church. And then I get to our nation and I go, okay, something positive going on in our nation. Like literally all week long, I've been looking at the news to see if there's something positive going on. I did find that 2 Canadians were released from China, so that was good for Canada. Go Canada. It's good for us too, but I'm thinking like there's global warming, right? Wildfires are still cropping up. We've got women's rights are being eroded in the South. We've got, let's see here, pandemic still going on. Yay. We're alienating some of our European allies just to thumb the nose at China, which that's going to go over well. Let's see, refugees are being treated horribly, and Afghanistan is still falling apart. Yeah, it's seemingly not a happy time in our nation right now. Now, the thing about universalism is that it asks us to look for the good, right? Because even when it's hard to find, it's out there. It's a very hopeful faith tradition. And just as Carr reframes, right, difficult times that we live in, universalism reframes an understanding of God. God, a universalist God, is not a mean judge who condemns people for not following rules, but a loving, forgiving, and supportive God who asks people to be compassionate and kind to one another. So on the one hand, you have over here the one that a lot of us, maybe some of us grew up with or we know about. It gets all the press. This is the God that is angry and judgmental and jealous. This God is made in our image when we're at our worst. It's a God that created hell in which to threaten people into believing in him and his rules. It's a God of fear. The God of universalism posits a God beyond our understanding practically. Like universalism imagines a love so grand, so enormous, that everyone is saved. There is no hell in universalism but what we create here on earth. It's a love so vast and complete that we, imperfect though beautiful human beings that we are, can barely conceive of this. And this God is also made in our image when we're at our best. As I said last week, we are love incarnate. And how's that for a view of humanity? Now you'd think that people would flock to this, right? It's such a wonderful reframing. And it's gotten some modern press. I don't know if you remember Chris Bell. He came out, he was a fundamentalist Christian who came out as a universalist and lost most of his flock because of it. But he looked at the Bible and was like, wait a minute, nowhere in here does it condemn people. But not everyone can conceive of such a thing, that we are loved by a God, that we're that lovable even. I'll tell you a funny story about Hosea Ballou to illustrate this. Hosea Ballou was one of the more famous and quite frankly wittiest of the Universalist preachers in the early 19th century. As a circuit riding preacher, that is, he went around, he stayed in tents and did tent revivals and things like that. He was running the circuit in the New Hampshire hills with a Baptist preacher, and they're riding along, and they're debating theology, okay? And the Baptist says, "Oh, Brother Ballou, if I were a universalist and feared not the fires of hell, I could hit you over the head, steal your horse, and ride off, and I would still go to heaven." To which Hosea replied, "If you were a universalist, the thought would never occur to you." I love those 19th century Universalists. They were, in many ways, they were very different from the Unitarians, the New England Unitarians, which were highly educated, kind of, quite frankly, elitist and fairly wealthy. The Universalists tend to be much more blue collar. They were farmers. They were very salt of the earth, down to earth kind of people. Unlike the Unitarians, the ministers were not always educated in theology, like they didn't go to Harvard, which was a Unitarian church, or seminary. But they knew the Bible really, really well. They were very quick-witted. As a matter of fact, if you ever want to find some really funny stories about Universalists, just look up stories about Universalists. They're sort of hilarious. There's one story of, I think it's John Murray, who was preaching in a church, and they would get people really angry at them and have demonstrations outside and everything. And I guess at one point a rock was thrown through the window and landed at his feet, to which he picked it up and looked at it and said, "This argument may be serious and weighty, but it is not rational nor convincing." They were smart guys. But so those are the fun stories from the 19th century, but what does it mean to be a Universalist in the 21st century? As part of Unitarian Universalism, not everybody here believes in God, for example. Well, first, I want to say that I think that traditional Universalism, which I've told you about, still really preaches today. In fact, I use it a lot when I'm talking to people of more conservative faith, particularly when I'm doing interfaith work, right? I'll use that Universalist language because it's one that they can understand. If I say to them, well, I'm a theist with strong humanist leanings, they sort of look at me like, huh? But if I say, oh, you know what, I believe in a love that's so vast that everyone is saved, they have a really hard time arguing with that. Even if they don't agree with me, we found some common ground, a way that we can understand one another. But Universalism today, this modern Universalism, is more than this theology. Building upon that traditional understanding, Universalism posits now that this love exists everywhere, right? In every religion, every philosophy, and every human being. Love is all around, as the song goes. In fact, Universalism exists in just about every religion. It's found in every iteration of the Golden Rule in all of the religions. For example, Valerie Carr is a Universalist. She's of the Sikh faith. Reverend Dr. William Butler is of the Christian faith. You saw him up there too. Gandhi, a Hindu, was a Universalist. There's Muslim Universalists, Jewish Universalists. Anyone who believes in a loving God or goddess, or goddesses, pagans are Universalist. Anyone who believes in the power of love is a Universalist. It's the common ground of all religions, and non-religious too. Atheists and humanists can be Universalists. So modern Universalism sees wisdom, love in all religions and worldviews. It doesn't discriminate. It does not confine to one way of thinking, but is present in all of them if you know where to look, right? And I think it's something that could really help our tradition thrive if people knew about this, about us out there. Because anytime I actually do tell someone, they're like, oh, wow, really? Like, it's hard to even conceive that, yes, the person you're sitting next to in this room could believe totally differently from you, right? But we need to say it loud because this is our moment. We are the future of church. This is the way it's heading. Let me give you an example that happened actually to me last week. I've been taking an online art class the woman is out of Seattle, and which is, kind of where I'm from. And it turns out there's actually only 2 students. There's me and one other person in this class, and then there's the teacher. And it just so happens that the other person in this class, she and I went to the same UU church up in Seattle. So I get on, and she's like, Sean, it's Patricia. And I'm like, oh my gosh. We had that squee moment. Oh my gosh, how are you? So we're going off and talking about, our churches and what's going on and everything like that. And after a little bit, I realized we're kind of excluding the teacher. And so, I said, Anya, do you know anything about Unitarian Universalists? We come from the same church and tradition. And she said, oh yeah, actually, I'm from Boston, which if you didn't know is kind of the beginning roots of Unitarianism, is where we're headquartered. She said, I was married in the Arlington church. And first I wasn't going to get married in a church, but my husband told me that it was the church of atheists, and so I felt a little bit more comfortable. And I gotta say, I was sort of like, okay, I gotta explain this again. Okay, Because atheists are definitely a big part of our churches, and it's one of the few places where atheists were welcome into community was our churches. But we're more than that, right? Like, we're theists, we're agnostics, we're Christians, we're anyone who wants to put love at the center, not dogma or rules. Now, I love our atheists and everything like that, but my frustration isn't that she names atheists, it's that people often think that that's the only belief in our church, and it's not, right? Many different beliefs, one loving community. That's our byline. Many different beliefs, one loving community. We have Christians, just general theists. We have Muslim UUs, Buddhist UUs, we call them Buddhitarians, which is one of my favorite words. It just rolls off the tongue. Jewish UUs, those are often known as Juditarians. They name themselves, not me, just saying. So we have agnostics, and of course we have atheists. But we're more than one belief system or non-belief system. I say this because I've heard people in this church say that to visitors, right? They say, oh, people here don't believe in God. It's a little ironic to me since this church was founded as a Universalist church back in 1951, before the merger. And I personally, just so you know, I feel a little dismissed when I heard that because I am a theist and a humanist, right? Now, I know what they're trying to say, right? That we're different, that we don't believe in the old white man in the sky, right? We aren't fundamentalists, we aren't dogmatic. That's what they're trying to say. But like I said, I'm not an atheist, I'm a theist and I'm a humanist. And some people might find that contradictory. I do not at all. But it's wonderful, isn't it, that I get to have my belief system and you get to have yours. But we have one thing in common. We believe in that power of love to change this world. We believe in community. We believe in justice. We believe in one another. We are Universalists, Unitarian Universalists. I think this is why, in part, that we're here. I mean, I don't know, but every once in a while I'll sort of wonder, and if someone identifies, for example, they might say, oh, I grew up Jewish, I'm here, or I'm pagan, or Christian, or whatever it is. So why are you going to this church? I'm just sort of curious, like, why do people do that? Why not that one that's specially dedicated to that particular tradition? Now, I've certainly been asked by others outside of the church, like, atheists go to church? I'm like, yes, they do. So why? Why come here? And I think it's because all of us, no matter what we grew up with or what our belief is, we want more, right? We're all Universalists. We know that wisdom doesn't come in just one little tight little package in one tradition, that there isn't just one way of believing or being in the world. We value diversity, all of the diversity that this world offers, and we don't want to limit ourselves. I can say at least that's why I became a Unitarian Universalist. I know people will say, I come here to be with like-minded people. And I always thought that was sort of an amusing phrase because we don't actually think alike, right? The reality is we're not like-minded, but we are like-hearted. A famous Unitarian once said, we need not think alike to love alike. We all want to birth into this world, a loving world, right? We want a world that is just, that is bountiful, that is healthy, that makes room for everyone. And here's the cool thing, we're not alone in wanting this. We have siblings across the religious and non-religious world. All the spectra, they want the same things, whether they're Jewish or Sikh or Buddhist or Christian, agnostic or secular, whatever it is, pagan, you name it, black, brown, purple, white, whatever, right? We have many siblings. We do not walk alone. So then what the heck is going on with the world, right? I mean, if there's so many of us, why does it feel like the world is going into a, hell in a handbasket, as they say? And I really think that Carr just hits it right on the head. It's because we're in labor. I think any woman here who's had children, I have not, but I've heard about it a lot, you can tell you that labor is no picnic. It's painful, it's difficult, even life-threatening to some. So what do we do when we're faced with such pain? As Carr reminds us, the midwife says, first, breathe. Breathe. Carr says we breathe to draw energy and power into our bodies and let joy in. Remember why we do this work, why we are laboring, because we get something that is beautiful at the end of it. So first breathe and then push. I know you know how. It's instinctual. It means to speak out, to speak up. When even your heart is speeding and you're fumbling over your words or you trip over them, speak up. And know that you're not alone. That's the third thing I would add to Carr's wonderful breathe, then push. And just know that you're not alone. There are midwives all around us, right here in this room and on Zoom. We're all pushing, and the time is now. Valerie Carr, she asks us, what if? What if this darkness is not the darkness of the tomb, but the darkness of the womb? What if our America is not dead, but a country waiting to be born? What if the story of America is one long labor? What if all of our grandfathers and grandmothers are standing behind us now, those who survived occupation, genocide, slavery, and Jim Crow, detentions, and political assault? What if they are whispering in our ear right now, you are brave? So remember, breathe, and then push. I'd like to invite our roomers and Zoomers to stand if you like, and sing or sway along with our choir.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tell these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tell these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Unitarian Universalist congregations are fully self-supporting, meaning that members and friends raise all funds for the operating budget, ministries, and programs of the church. We are ever grateful for your gifts of time, treasure, and talent. OCUUC amplifies that spirit of generosity by sharing one half of the plate we receive with an organization that shares our values. This month, we are supporting Stand Up for Kids. Stand Up for Kids is a program that we supported for a long time. It's a wonderful program. It's dedicated, as it says on the screen, dedicated to ending the cycle of youth, homelessness in local communities like ours. So let us be kind and compassionate and make some good change for these kids. There are multiple ways in which you can support this church and this organization. You can mail a check. You can go through our website, use an app now called Venco Mobile. Oops, said that wrong. Or if you are a roomer, you can place your offering in a basket as you leave the service today. The choice is yours. All the information is on our website should you need it. As always, thank you for your generosity.
If you hear this message, wherever you stand, calling every woman, calling every man. We're the generation, we can't afford to wait. The future is yesterday, and we're already late. We've been looking for a song to sing, search for a melody, search for someone to lead. We've been looking for the world to change. If you feel the same, then go on and say if you're out there. Sing along with me if you're out there. I'm dying to believe that you're out there. Stand up and say it loud if you're out there. Tomorrow starting now. No more broken promises, no more call to war, unless it's love and peace that we're really fighting for. We can destroy hunger, we can conquer hate. Put down the arms and raise your voice, we're joining hands today. I was looking for a song to sing, search for a leader, but the leader was me. We were looking for the world to change. We can be heroes. Just go on and say if you're out there. Sing along with me if you're out there. I'm dying to believe that you're out there. Stand up and say it loud if you're out there. Tomorrow starting now. Shake the world, believe again, it starts within. We don't have to wait for destiny, we should be the change that we want to see. If you're out there and you're ready now, say it loud, scream it out if you're out there. Sing along with me if you're out there. I'm dying to believe that you're out there. Stand up and say it loud if you're out there. Tomorrow starting now. If you hear this message, wherever you may stand, I'm calling every woman, calling every man. We're the generation, we can't afford to wait. The future started yesterday, and we're already late.
Please join in singing or swaying along with We Gather Together, a song that puts our intentions into words and expresses our gratitude for the many gifts we share.
We gather together, we gather as one, for peace, love, and justice for everyone. We give from our hearts to show that we care. We can change lives with what we share.
That song always really wants me to sway to it. Dun, dun, dun. All right. Well, welcome everyone. Now is that time when we honor the important events and people in our lives. It's a weekly ritual that we call Joys and Sorrows. And you're invited, one and all, whether you're a member, a friend, visitor, guest, everyone is welcome to participate. I'd like to invite Marilyn Gish, she's our congregational nurse, up here to join us. Basically, what it is that if you hold something in your heart from the last days, weeks, or hours, something that has struck you at your core, if you'd like to honor that, we will light a candle for you. If you'd like to share it with the congregation, you can write it out on a slip of paper or put it in the chat, which I'm looking at right now, and I'll read those out loud to the congregation. So I just invite you all to just take a few moments, and in a spirit of silence, we'll just sort of retrieve these notes, and I invite you to just sort of hold all of this in your heart as people write their joy or sorrow. All right, we've got some wonderful things here. Let's see. So Emerald Hook, she says she has a joy. She says, I've kind of been on a bit of a journey with Norse paganism recently. Cool. Learning to work with the gods has been incredible. I'm very much a baby pagan, but I love knowing that I'm not going to be an outcast here because of it. Yes. So thank you all for being so welcoming and loving. Amen. Linda Clough says, a great joy to celebrate the birth of their great-granddaughter, Landon. Woo. You can't hear it, Linda, but they're applauding here. She's 2 days old today. 2 days old. Ah. Valerie asks that we light a candle for her. Oh, and I'm terribly sorry, Emerald. Emerald has male pronouns. And Maureen has a sorrow. She says, my grandniece's young husband died of COVID. They have 3 small children. Laura Beach says, please light a candle for 2 of my sisters. One is having a rough recovery from hip surgery, another one who is ill with COVID despite being fully vaccinated. Simone Bentley has lit a candle, would like a candle of joy. She said she spent a wonderful time this month in a family reunion in Portland, Oregon with her 4 grandchildren and their parents. Welcome back, Simone. Glad you had a wonderful time. And Lynn Beck says she has a candle of joy, a week of reconnecting with dear friends at the beach in Del Mar. And Marilyn Giss, her wonderful congregation over there, has light a candle of concern and healing for her niece and her husband. Both are in their late 60s with chronic health issues and now diagnosed with COVID. They are in their home right now. We hope that they recover quickly. Patrick Bowie would like a candle lit, he says, and is an addict in my community has habitually gone through our neighbor's property, moving and mixing items between individuals. Yesterday he did it again. He needs to seek skilled treatment and housing, but is not cognizant of his harming numerous others. So we hope that he gets the help that he needs. Anna Ryan would like a candle of sorrow. She says, my daughter-in-law's father died yesterday. The whole family was able to be together and had gathered from all around the country. Oh, I'm so glad. And Bridget Kavanaugh would like a candle of sorrow lit. She says, my grandfather's passing. She said, Phil was a unique man and touched many lives in his work, spiritually and professionally. We hope his passing goes well. And Jan Roven, she wrote in to me, she said, as some of you know, I have a speech problem. It's called primary progressive aphasia. She says, I've been in a research study at UCI for about 3 years, and they say I will lose the ability to speak entirely and lose ability to read. But I started speech therapy this week with a graduate student in San Francisco University on Zoom, and I hope it will do me some good. So please think good thoughts for me, she asks. Let us hold and love all the joys and celebrations and all the hurts and sadness, whether they were spoken or held silent. Let our joys remind us to be thankful, our concerns remind us to hope, and our sorrows remind us to connect. Let all these moments remind us that we are not alone. I'd like to invite Marilyn up here. You're invited to join her in a spirit of prayer or meditation.
This is called Integration Where It Counts, and it's by Mark Morrison Reed. This is the central task of the worshiping community, to invite the spiritual presence, to unveil the connectedness of all humanity through the story of life, and thus to reveal this universal truth, which is only discovered amid the particulars of our own lives and the lives of others. Once felt, it inspires us to act for justice. The religious community is essential, for alone our vision is too narrow to see all that must be seen, and our power too limited to do all that must be done. But together our vision widens and our strength is renewed. Amen.
Let us join together as we extinguish the flame of our chalice and say together, we extinguish our chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you for joining us this morning. We are a congregation made of people who all believe differently. And yet when we gather together, whether we're in the room or on Zoom, we make up one loving community. We need not think alike to love alike. If you are a guest, a visitor, or someone who hasn't yet been known to us, I invite you to become part of this beloved community, even if just for the day. We encourage you to either write in the chat or stand for a brief moment and tell us your name and where you're from. If you're on our Zoom, Reverend Sean will stand up and read to our Zoomers, I believe. Or rumors, checking on the chat. Oh, all right. If you'd like to know more about our church, including programming for our youth and children, please contact us at hello@ocuc.org, and we will help you get connected. In addition, we invite you to sign up for our weekly email called The Blast at blast@ocuc.org. I always goof that up. We want everyone to feel a part of this beloved community, so please reach out and we will help you get connected. Oh, yeah, do you have a guest here? Here, we have a microphone we're going to be bringing to you so the Zoomers can hear you.
Hi, my name's Donna. I was a you in Laguna Beach and looking to see if this is a good community because there's lots of minister and we all fall apart down there.
No.
Without making huge changes, and I can't stand on watching people that got some checking you folks out. So
Welcome. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yay! Welcome. I'm so happy. Okay. After the service, we will have a short period where everyone, roomers and Zoomers alike, can wave and say hello and welcome any visitors. The Zoomers who remain will be placed into Zoom breakout room groups for 20 minutes for coffee and conversation, as per usual. No. We invite you to check in and get to know the people in your group. Thank you.
So for the Zoomers who didn't quite get all of the introductions, I just want to repeat that because I got a little note that we didn't. So we have Donna, who is actually a longtime UU. She's been attending the Long Beach Church, and she's kind of here to check us out. And Laguna Beach, sorry. Why did I say Long Beach? Laguna Beach, you're right. Thank you. And then also we have Mary here, who is with her niece, Bridget, who's also coming here to meet us and see what we're about. Her niece, Bridget, has been coming and kind of pumped us up. So welcome, both of you. I'm glad that you're here. All right. Let's see here. So announcements. Fun stuff coming up here. Let's see here. Today we've got the Women's Circle. There actually everything is on Zoom except for unless it says otherwise. But we have a church picnic coming up here on the 16th at Estancia Park. It'll be outdoors, and we'll have a little bit more direction about that. What you do want to do is just look for the blast. That's our weekly email, and you can get signed up here. Just talk to people after the church or talk to our minister. You can talk to me. We'll get you signed up. The other big thing is that we've got a bunch of wonderful things coming up here, including our sermon discussion groups are forming again. Yay! These were hugely popular the last couple of years, and so we've actually added a 5th group. And so basically, if you've never done this before, basically a small group gets some people together, anywhere from about 8 to 10 people, and I write up my notes from the service and send that off to them, and y'all basically kind of like, well, what do I think about what Valerie Carr said? What do I think about universalism, that kind of thing? So you get to hear from everybody. It's a wonderful way to get to know people in the congregation, kind of get connected, particularly if you're like me. I'm an introvert, so trying to find ways to connect with people. I know, believe it or not, I'm actually an introvert. I just love people, so I don't have a problem with this. But at any rate, let's see here. So that's going to be coming up. We're going to send a special blast for that, and it'll also be in a weekly blast to get those sign up as soon as possible, because I do know that they're actually already filling up a little bit. And then a dream group is forming. Reverend Judy is going to start a dream group, which sounds really kind of cool. She's quite the expert in it. So sign up for that. All sorts of other wonderful things coming up. We've got our writing club, social art, all sorts of really very cool things. I also want to note that if you see me, particularly before the service or as the service is just starting, on my cell phone kind of doing this sort of thing, I'm not actually checking my Instagram account or on Facebook. Literally half of our congregation is online, and I'm in the chat saying, welcome, glad you're here, calling out people's names and everything, because I want them to know they are, right, all a part of this church, right? And so I also want to invite you to come say hello. They're viewing us from this one over here. And you can come up and wave hello and say hello to everybody when the service is over. You can see all of them. But there's literally anywhere from, 45 to 50 people online at this time. So just want to point that out, not checking my Instagram. Okay. All right, I think that's just about this. Let's join Beth virtually in this recording and singing or swaying our benediction.
Be safe, be well, you mean the world to me. Be safe, be well, you mean the world to me. Be safe, be well, you mean the world to me. Be safe, be well, you mean the world to me.
Remember to say it loud. This is our moment. Breathe and then push. This service is over. Let our service continue.